second pre-examination meeting, Corriegarth to Windfarm, case reference WIN-270-17. I won't go through all of the housekeeping information that we heard last time, but if you could just mute your microphones when you're not speaking, but keep your videos on, switch off mobiles, and let me know, raise a hand as we go along if you need to try my attention or if you stop hearing me. Okay, move on to item 2, which is introduction by parties representatives. I think we have most of the same people as we did for PEM1, but if we could just confirm that, that'd be helpful. So can I start with the representative for the applicant, please, Mr. Trinick?
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, Marcus Trinick, KC, and the team is as before. You can see the picture of the room. That's where they are.
Okay. Thank you. And for the council.
Yes, ma'am. It's James Finley, King's Counsel, with just Rhoda Bantry this time.
Okay, thank you. And Dr. Gordon of Mountaineering Scotland has decided not to participate in this meeting. Okay, item 3, we provisionally booked this meeting after the last one. The Highland Council had informed us in that meeting, of course, that it was going to discuss the application further at South Planning Applications Committee on the 8th of February. So we thought we might need this opportunity to regroup. Just a couple of updates since that time that are of relevance to planning out the rest of the inquiry. Firstly, as you know, the outcome of the committee decision was that the Highland Council does not object to the application. We were advised by that with the council on the day, and we let the Energy Consents Unit know, ECU. They administer all applications relating to energy infrastructure that are made directly to the Scottish ministers. And when any of those applications require an inquiry, they pass them to us at DPEA, and one or more reporters are appointed to hold the inquiry and write report for the ministers. So in this instance, the requirement for the inquiry was initially triggered by the Highland Council's initial decision to object to the application. So whilst that no longer stands now, because inquiry procedures are already underway, in the interests of transparency and public perceptions, ECU have asked us, in fact they've instructed us to continue. So Ms Hayward and I, as the appointed reporters, need to carry on and complete our work. At the moment, there aren't any other parties remaining opted in to any further procedures. Highland Council's no longer an objector. Mountaineering Scotland remains an objector, but they've made it clear in their updated statement that they want that to be its sole contribution to any further process. When DPEA wrote to other parties, i.e. those that had previously commented, none of them opted in to giving evidence to the inquiry. We have now contacted those parties again, asking them to let us know within 14 days whether, in light of that updated Highland Council position, they would now like to give evidence. So because of that 14 days runs until Monday, the 27th of February. So we just need to bear that in mind. Some of what we discussed and agreed today might need to be provisional pending any response as we get to that exercise. Just one final update for me is that we have now received the update from Mountaineering Scotland that was agreed at the last meeting. It's come in sort of earlier than the 7th of March date they'd agreed. We've got that. That's up on the DPA website now. So the applicant will be able to consider that and respond to it within the further process for the inquiry. And as I stated just a minute ago, they've confirmed Mountaineering Scotland don't want to participate in any further process. And they did make clear in their note that decision was taken knowing the Highland Council had updated its position. So those are the only updates I'm aware of since the last meeting. But moving on to item 4, because we're going to discuss how we might proceed with the inquiry under the next item. If there's any other updates either party knows of that might be helpful for us to have in mind before we start doing that, could you let us know those now? Let's start with the applicant.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, 3 things. On conditions, which will be something you need to consider, a further version of the conditions will be sent to the Highland Council, subject to your decision, tomorrow. in order to get their response. How we deal with that procedurally we'll come on to later. And those conditions will include a transport condition. That was one topic where you might need, you said you might need more information. My suggestion will be that we engage with Highland Council direct on that topic and try to resolve matters via the discussion on conditions. The second topic is SEPA and Peat. A condition is with SEPA for consideration, and I hope we'd be allowed a further 2 weeks from today to complete that process. If we don't, then we'll need to talk about further procedure. If we do, we may not need to. Thirdly, there is the revised habitat management plan. This is the Nature Scot issue on peat, which you'd identified. And that will be published tomorrow as part of the AI. And then they will have the period to respond, whatever the appropriate period is. I'll come on to that in a moment under procedure. I guess the final topic I raised, we can discuss this under procedure totally, is MPF4. So those are the issues of which I'm aware.
Okay, thank you very much. And does the council have any updates or additional issues?
No, none. There have been discussions, I understand, already on transportation matters, and Mr. Trinick's, subject to me being instructed otherwise, Mr. Trinick's suggestion seems sensible and will hopefully lead to at least a narrowing of the issues, if not agreement, as far as Highland Council is concerned.
Okay, thank you both very much for that. So item 5, the main discussion point, I think, is the implications of those updates for the issues we need to address, the procedures and the timeline. So when we met on the 24th of January, we discussed and agreed what procedures would be appropriate for each of the issues that Ms Hayward and I had identified as requiring additional evidence and who would need to participate. We also agreed a timeline of the key dates, that and the procedures. That was set out paragraph 1 of the meeting note. And there was some relevant tables, axes A and B as well. So hopefully you've got that to hand. I think we sent out a link this morning. So we need to review that now, including the inquiry and hearing sessions, which we had earmarked for early May. Ms Hayward and I would like to hear from you on what you think the appropriate adjustments would be. Some key thoughts that we wanted to outline before we get on to discussion. Firstly, of course, we still need to do site visits. I didn't receive any comments from either party after the last meeting suggesting that our proposal to do unaccompanied site visits wouldn't work. So I assume that's the case. If that's just got overlooked in the course of other events, then please do let us know as soon as possible. Secondly, we of course need the updated cumulative landscape visual impact assessment. We can talk about the time scales for that under the next item. We don't think that we'll need now the previously agreed inquiry and hearing sessions, that we would need further written information on all of the topics that we previously pinpointed for further process, including the things we were due to discuss in those sessions. Dealing with all the issues in writing, of course, would allow for a more expedited process. But we also wanted to note, if there isn't going to be oral procedures, then the applicant would need to advertise the cumulative landscape visual and impact assessment date, as there won't be inquiry being advertised. So those are the initial thoughts from us. So if you've got the timetable before you that we agreed before, should we just go through that from the top? Are there any comments?
We can, ma'am, but in some ways it's fairly well rotted up in the sense that most of the procedures have gone. I wonder if it'd be helpful just to deal with things this way. The additional information, which is will be submitted tomorrow, it'll be advertised next week as soon as may be, and therefore the response period will expire sometime around the 24th of March, is my guess. And that will include the CLBIA update. It will include the enhanced habitat management plan. It may include a very brief ecology report relating to pinch point works on the public road. which have been omitted. That only if those are regarded as potentially giving rise to significant effects. That information will be with us very shortly. It may delay the AI till next Monday if the results aren't in tomorrow, but we'll see. So that's the AI. If you and Ms. Hayward have no questions that you would wish to put to our landscape witness, Dan Walker, then we agree there is no need for any more oral process. We're happy with that. We do need, I think, to have written process following some timetable on MPF4 to update the policy and the OWP, the onshore wind policy statement, to update the policy position for you. Although Ms. Hayward has had it updated for on numerous occasions in the last 3 weeks. If SEPA were not content with the condition that we can't reach agreement, you might need a written process, a written exchange to cover off that matter. So far as Mountaineering Council is concerned, I can deal with what they say in closing submissions. Assuming you want closing submissions in addition to the NPF4 exchange, and that's another topic for discussion.
That's quite, I think that is broadly in line with what we were anticipating or what we can settle on at this point. Is there anything you want to say, Mr. Findlay?
No, just that there may need to be some provision for an exchange of written submissions on conditions if they are not agreed. So just if the timetable is being made, some provision for that, but that's all.
Sorry, my apologies.
No, you carry on, that's fine.
Just in terms of timetable, I didn't answer your question. We'd anticipate that we could compress the timetable to bring everything to an end. We suggest by the middle of March, or at the latest by the end of March, taking account of the AI and any response we want to make to the AI.
Okay. So what I'd got noted down in terms of updated timetables or questions, I think we've probably covered most of the points. The first was whether you were still on track in terms of submitting or having the revised CLVIA tomorrow, which you are, if not Monday. We had, and this would obviously now apply to a wider range of topics potentially, the earliest date for commencing any further written submissions was the 24th of February. And I've noted the same points I think that you've covered there, that whether we need some of those further written submissions is still dependent on the outcome of the discussions you've been having with different parties. We do think that questions we would have on landscape and visual impact, we could take that evidence through writing. We're happy we would be able to do that. In things we can't fully confirm that at the moment, because if any party comes back from the current opt-in letter and says they do want to give evidence after all, then we might need to still look at some form of oral process. So we won't be able to confirm that an updated timetable with precise confirmed dates until after that. And as I said, I think it's the Monday, the 27th of February, when we hear from that, but we'll confirm that as soon as we can. Or as soon as if any response comes in the meantime, that means we wouldn't be able to go with that written only process. If we do have to have oral process, we were proposing to just stick with the dates and location we'd agreed before, because we know we're all ready then. Okay, so looking at if we are able to switch everything to further written submissions, which we're all happy with, participants at the as of today's date, and so bringing that all together by the end of March at the latest. So I'd need to compress. Maybe not. So that the dates actually at the moment, as we set them out, lead up to statements being submitted at the end of March. It's actually maybe not that much of a curtailment. We were envisaging perhaps asking for the information that would have gone into an inquiry report coming in as a written statement in any case. So the timings for that could perhaps just be slightly adjusted. Would you want to say anything on that? No, fine. Yeah, so we can just reprofile the timeline according to that to bring that part of the process in by middle or late March, providing we don't hear in the meantime that other parties are seeking to opt in. I don't think there was anything else on that I particularly wanted to flag. Is there anything else people want to ask or suggest?
One point I probably haven't taken on board enough was your need for some form of inquiry report from Mr. Walker. I can see you would need a summary of our case in the form of but I'm not sure you need the full singing and dancing inquiry report that you would normally receive in the absence, which may not be the case if people opt in, but in the current absence of any opposition except from Mountaineering Scotland. So would you accept an abbreviated form of evidence there?
Yeah, I think it would be abbreviated, and we could make clear the parameters for it. It's just having something overarching, I guess, in place of what we would have had in terms of an inquiry report, but in proportion to the revised process. Okay.
Can I just add to that? That's what because we've been asked to do this process in response to objections that have been received. We'd like those objections to be addressed in any further information that you give us.
So we're probably about done on where we can get to with the final points of the timetable and the process until we have confirmation whether or not anybody else is opting in. But like we've said, sounds like we're all in agreement and can see what that revised process looks like.
Now, will you send out, once you know whether or not there are any opt-ins, and assuming there are not, will you send out therefore a revised timetable just to crystallise to us when you expect to receive what?
I will do. I'll include an update in the note meeting. So that will be there. And there were also 2 tables in the annex to the note that I'll update as well. So there's just one table that lists all of the issues and identifies those needing further process. So at the moment they say, you know, the inquiries and the hearings are on there. That would all just move across to further written submissions. And in fact, some of that might not be there anymore, depending on where you've got to discussions beforehand. The other table that I'll update just shows for the subjects for which there is some further process who the parties would be, because that also might change slightly from last time. You know, council, for example, might not need to be on all of those, but if we do get to the point of needing further written submissions on conditions and transport, still they would need to be a party to that. So all the tables that were in the note of the last meeting, I'll update in the note of this one.
And I can ask one more question through you to Mr. Finney, I guess, whether Highland Council would wish, despite its position, to make any representations on MPF4 to inform your report to ministers.
Not, I hadn't anticipated that, which perhaps I should have done. No is not. If you would give us 24 hours and we could indicate whether we wish to do so, but I think it's unlikely. In return, I have one question or one request of Mr. Trinick, if I could ask through you, that certainly we have cited the proposed peak condition that's being discussed with SEPA at the moment. That would enable us to speed matters up.
Send that through.
Thank you. In terms of council and NPF4, because I think we've got an update of your committee. We've got your latest committee report. and letter, so that will go onto the website, just so that your updated position is there in full.
Yeah.
We had the original letter to ECU and the original report of handling, so be what's in there.
Thank you.
Brilliant. So I'll just move on to item 6, the note of the meeting. As I said, we'll just wait for the end of that opt-in period and get the note out as soon as possible after that. So that'll be as soon as possible after Monday, 27th of February. That will have all of the updated tables in it, the timeline, the issues and the parties participating. So unless there's any other matters we can discuss helpfully today, that's done very quickly. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.